I'm back, bitches. Alright, so let's talk about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and the Crimes of Grindelwald, J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. Hang on. If I'm gonna do this, let's do it right. Alright. Yeah, I never understood the purpose of buying merch at a movie theater until just now. Hashtag not spons. Do I dare title this video Let's Talk the Crimes of Grindelwald, or do I call it J.K. Rowling and the Curse of George Lucas? Because I feel like, and I'm gonna try to be as okay, this is what I'm gonna do. For the first 5 or 10 minutes or so is just gonna be spoiler-free review, much like the other Let's Talks. We never got into the heavy spoilery bits in the other Let's Talks, but I'm going to do it today because I'm tired of waiting around and I want to do it. And I want to talk about this movie because I think there's a lot to talk about with this. And plus I'm feeling particularly feisty and I wanted to get in the recording chair. So, yep. Let's settle in for the long haul, ladies and gents. For the spoiler-free review, I'll say the movie's good. There are some things that, like, Die Hard... Okay, let me put it to you this way. I haven't looked at the news for this because I wanted to go in with no preconceived notions. I knew what they were going to do. I had expectations and I had theories going into it. But, and I knew what some people were already speculating in terms of, like, is J.K. Rowling George Lucasing herself? But I will say that the movie on its own is enjoyable. It's a good sequel to the first Fantastic Beasts film. It keeps the heart, it keeps the characterizations, it pushes the characters to, greater risks. They're taking bigger risks. There's greater consequences for their decisions, and that pays off in a big way at the end of the film. And also, everybody knows how vocal J.K. Rowling has been against, let's say, certain American politics. And I'm not getting political here, but I kind of have to get political a little bit. But everyone knows that J.K. Rowling is very against the current establishment in the United States. However, I feel like that was also prevalent in the film, especially at the very end. But also, it's not specifically that. It's specifically that without being specifically that. You could literally point to any other point in history where people in power hold rallies in which they try to convert people to their idealistic, dogmatic views. Doesn't have to be insert politician name here. It doesn't have to be that. It could literally be anything, but there is that a very big moment of that in the film. Also, I do want to say, if any of our viewers have seizure issues, the very beginning of the film is it bombards you a lot with flashes, which makes sense because it's a Harry Potter film, but also just putting it out there in case anyone needed to know that. And also there was the issue of whether or not Johnny Depp was going to be good in the role of Grindelwald. Going into it, I felt had the roles been reversed and Johnny Depp was Percival Graves and then Colin Farrell was revealed to be Grindelwald, would have been better. But I will say, love him, like him, hate him, Johnny Depp can do really good character work and has done really good character work. He has a good body of character work, but also in his character work he has I don't want to say he goes method and disappears into his characters, but he does disappear into his characters. It's still Johnny Depp, but there was something in the performance of Grindelwald that just made me this guy is really charismatic. You have to hate Grindelwald, but you can't hate the performance of Grindelwald because it's just brilliant. It's divisive, it's manipulative, it's conniving, and it's just a wonderful performance, much like everybody hating Imelda Staunton for her portrayal of Umbridge in Order of the Phoenix. But you don't hate Imelda Staunton, you hate the character of Umbridge, and her portrayal of Umbridge was just fantastic. you know. So it's much like that. But again, people, you know, Johnny Depp doesn't have the best of reputations right now, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. Jude Law as Dumbledore, amazing. I couldn't tell whether or not there was like heavy prosthesis to Jude Law or not, because there were sometimes his portrayal of Dumbledore looked more like Richard Harris, and other times that he looked like Michael Gambon. And he sort of portrayed both while also bringing this fresh, brilliant idea of Dumbledore. Like this younger, hands-tied man without an option because he doesn't have a choice. Even though he does, he can't act upon the choice that he would make because there's consequences to it either way. Never mind, I realize that that's going to be spoilery, so I'm going to circle back around to just the characterizations. Okay. And I realize that some of the things that I just said about Jude Law's portrayal of Dumbledore might be spoilery as well, so I also cut those, and I'll talk about it more in the spoilery section as well. Again, Eddie Redmayne's performance as Newt Scamander is brilliant to watch. A lot of people gave him flack too because like he's like, I don't want to say emotionless, but it does kind of come across that way. But if you can see past that to see what he's specifically doing with the character, it's kind of genius and brilliant. Especially like the idea of a very understated, very humble hero as opposed to this braggart of a, I'm the hero, I'm the chosen one, I've got to do this, that, and the other because I have to, and I do it for you know, it's more of a, not a reluctant hero, but a hero that just doesn't want the praise or the acclaim that comes with being a hero. He's the very like I said, he's a very humble hero. The return of Kowalski, Queenie, and Tina, as seen in the trailers, incredible. I love the way that they dealt with certain issues involving the character of Kowalski, and like I said at the top of this, the depth and growth of the characters, especially towards the end of the film, I feel like was handled really well. It made sense, given those characters. I didn't want to see one of the things happen, but, I mean, you never want to see your favorite characters get hurt or being pushed too far, but at the other time, they have to, because how else are they going to grow? How else are they going to be worthwhile characters if they don't have some sort of growth or development? The cinematography was a tiny bit weird. There was, like, a lot of, like, really close, like, headshots scenes, or it was just like a really awkwardly close pan of just someone's face talking or just someone's face staring, and it's like, this is kind of unnecessary. It could have been a wide shot, or, you know, have both people in the frame. I don't know, it just felt, those moments felt weird and out of place. But other than that, the graphics of, or the computer generated creatures, again, wonderful, stunning. The new creatures, incredible. They had a chupacabra in there, which was not how I envisioned a chupacabra looking, but it was still very interesting to have the chupacabra in there because, you know, they were still in America at that point. But the other creatures that came into play were still interesting and wonderful, and a lot of people, and I can say this without it being spoilery, a lot of people were expecting, well, how are they going to have a Fantastic Beasts 2? Do they break out of the case again and we just do the same movie over and over again? And it's like, no. You get to see a little bit more of Newt in action doing what he loves to do, which was incredible and amazing, not just recapturing animals that were on the loose. That was the story of the first one. Of course they're not going to tell the story again in the second one. Which, again, is why I wish that they wouldn't have called it Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald, that they would have just called it The Wizarding World. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Or J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find... Or, The Crimes of Grindelwald, not Fantastic Beasts. Because it just seems weird. Like, I know that it ties it to Newt Scamander being our protagonist throughout the films, but it just still seems odd to just have the major title being Fantastic Beasts and then a different subtitle that has nothing to do with Fantastic Beasts. And again, that being said, anyways, I'm getting off track. I'm probably going to cut that part. But the Nifflers are still adorable. And again, the beasts, the cutesy beasts were not a hindrance, much like these guys. But then again, these guys weren't so much a hindrance in The Last Jedi either. There was a perfect amount of these guys. There was a perfect amount of these guys, except for maybe one part at the end, which I'll talk about in the spoilery section. But overall, like, if I had to rate it, and this isn't what this is, but if I had to rate it, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. If I was doing the star system, I would give it a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. But again, I am very nervous about the potential for J.K. Rowling George Lucasing herself, or feeling the strong arm of the studio. And that's where I'm going to get into spoiler content. So, if you do not want Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald spoiled, please go ahead and dip out of the video at this point. If you're willing to stay around for the spoilers, again, we'll be talking about it in just a second, but I'll say goodbye to those that don't want to be here for that. So, thank you. We will see you next time. Here we go with the spoilers. Okay, that ending though, what the actual fuck? Okay, before I get to that ending, I want to talk about Dumbledore. Which pertains to the ending, but I want to talk about Dumbledore. That ending. I'm still reeling over that ending. I don't want to talk about the ending yet. I want to build to it. So anyways, Dumbledore. Jude Law's portrayal. Like I was saying, it was brilliant, it was genius, it was his own, but I still felt parts of the other two Dumbledores in there as well, and it felt I thought it felt very good. It felt familiar. Like, we're seeing a familiar character in a way that we are very unfamiliar with. But still, I felt very comfortable saying that was Dumbledore. It's much like how Solo worked. It's like, we're seeing Solo at a point where he's not Han Solo. But it became comfortable quickly in the course of Solo. Which was the point of the movie, but the point of this movie was we're just supposed to not necessarily accept him as Dumbledore, but for me there wasn't much delay. Like, the first moment we're introduced to this character of Dumbledore, I was like, yeah, that's Dumbledore. That makes sense. And like I said, I don't know if there was prosthesis or not to make him look like the other two Dumbledores or to enhance his character, but he definitely looked like some sort of weird combination of both of them in different shots, and it was weird and it was cool. One of the major things that people were having issues with going into the movie was the idea of, are they going to portray Dumbledore's sexuality? Because that was something that J.K. Rowling admittedly, flippantly just put out there after Deathly Hallows came out, and was like, oh yeah, Dumbledore's gay. He was in love with Grindelwald, and then it didn't work, and he regretted it the rest of his life. A lot of people were upset by that, mostly because it was still like the early 2000s, and we were still very not there as a country or world yet, but also people were just kind of like not okay with it, how it was just flippantly dealt with. But now that we've had some time to digest the idea, and now that we have this film, it makes sense, especially with how they did it, with a blood pact, unbreakable vow between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, which I won't say I had an issue with it. It just kind of caught me off guard that was why he didn't want to move against Grindelwald. It was because they made an unbreakable vow that they wouldn't hurt each other, because, like, that already happened. Like, I don't have my copy of the book handy, but, I do, but it's currently buried by other books. That there was the fight between Dumbledore and Grindelwald that ended in the unfortunate death of Dumbledore's sister Ariana. That involved in her death. So if he moved against him before, I don't know. There was just a tiny issue for me there. But like I said, the way that they addressed Grindelwald and Dumbledore's past relationship made sense. They talked about it without it being fan servicey. Like, yeah, they're not making out, but it made sense of what we saw. It was like, yeah, they had a very deep and powerful relationship, and that was it, and that made sense. So, and who knows, maybe we'll see more in films to come, now that since at the end of the film it seems as though they're working to undo that blood pact, or that unbreakable vow. Will Dumbledore and Grindelwald have a moment of, I loved you, but I couldn't be with you. I couldn't stand with you. I couldn't stand by and see you hurt people I cared about. And then I lost my sister, and I had to leave you, or things of that nature, We don't know how these are going to play out, because apparently there's going to be 5 of these things. I don't know if they're still going with that plan of doing 5 of them, but I really don't want to have to wait 2 years for the next one. I really want to get the next one now, because, damn, that ending. Before I get there, let's talk about the other major factor. People had issue with the characterization of Nagini, and how casting an Asian actress to play the character of Nagini being a maledictus, which is a bit of a retcon in her lore, creating this creature of a maledictus that is a blood-cursed person that will transform into a creature over time and then never be able to regain their human form. People likened it to the Dragon Lady trope / stereotype of Asian portrayal of women in film, which I'm not the best person to criticize that one way or the other, but I will say that the portrayal of Nagini in the film was very interesting, and I felt like it was I won't say it was a red herring, but it made me think the ending was going to go a very different way. But it still might. We don't know. There's more films to come, and maybe they'll deal with it then. But I'm very interested to see where her character will end up, because she ended up not aligning with the side of good, but with the good guys at the end of everything, after everything shook out. She was left by Credence, who went to go join Grindelwald's army, because he needed to know about himself. And let's talk about that. So Credence, the character from the first film, it was revealed at the end of the film that he was an Obscurial, and then we see a little trailing wisp of black fade away, and Newt's looking at it like, and everyone's like, yeah, he's not dead. Yeah, he's not dead. And then we saw him in the trailer. Yeah, he's not dead. And then we get to the film, and there's a bit of a time skip of a few months, and it's revealed that he's looking for his birth mother. He's looking for his family. And then the lore of the Obscurial is furthered by saying that his condition can be corrected if he can regain his connection to his blood, to his family. Which, I'm not gonna lie, seemed like a bit of a cop-out, but I don't know. I still don't know how to feel with how that all got shaken out. Because I think either remove the Obscurial, since it is a parasitic virus, if you will, or just train him in magic. That way the Obscurial isn't growing from lack of use of magic, but he's using magic and the Obscurial withers and dies away. So that there's that part. But he goes to Paris to try to find information about his family. And you don't know where it's really going until the very last moment of the film. Like, there's the potential that he could be a Lestrange, or a Black, or a... I don't think anybody would have guessed Potter going into it, but I thought maybe they were going to pull a real huge retcon and say that he was Malvolo Gaunt. Yeah, so I thought that it was going to be Marvolo Gaunt, or something to that effect, which would make sense that Nagini then stays with the family of Gaunt and Riddle, ultimately to Voldemort. But to come out of nowhere at the end of the film and say he's Dumbledore, not that he's Albus Dumbledore, but a Dumbledore, a fourth Dumbledore that we never knew about, is a very, very precarious slope to put yourself. I love the idea. I was floored. I was shocked. I want to know more. I want to know how this is all going to shake out. But again, is J.K. Rowling George Lucasing herself? Because, again, like, is she writing herself into a corner that she can't really escape from? Is she unfortunately going to have that moment of,
I may have gone too far in a few places,
and then realize that she might have irreparably harmed the Harry Potter franchise? Or even if she does, are we able to treat it like Star Wars and say, hey, there was good stuff, there was bad stuff. Some people like the bad stuff, some people like the good stuff, and that's okay. Or is it going to be as polarizing as The Last Jedi? Who knows? Like I said, I enjoyed the movie, and from now on, I kind of think that with any franchise film, you can't bind it. Like, yes, there is established rules and established canon with these stories, but at the same time, the fans cannot bind it. If the author wants to do something, good, bad, indifferent, the author has that right to do it. Now, granted, is it messing with a historic piece of art? And I can comfortably say Harry Potter will go down in history as a historic piece of art. It is a iconic piece of literature, even coming from the modern era. I mean, it's famously infamous for being on the banned books list. You know, all the books on the banned books list are pretty much, what we consider to be classics. I could very well see in 30, 40 years Harry Potter making its way over to a classic section of any library, or maybe not all of them, but the first one definitely. I mean, much like how Lord of the Rings is. I mean, I work at a library and we have Lord of the Rings in our classics collection as well as our sci-fi collection. So I could very well see Harry Potter being there. But does it, like I said, does it irreparably harm an iconic piece of art? I don't know that I can make that call either. I don't know that anyone can, really. I mean, it would be one thing if we're going to make that claim, then we have to say that it would be akin to Leonardo da Vinci coming back from the dead tomorrow and painting over Mona Lisa's smile and making it a frown. Or making an exact replica of the Mona Lisa with a frown and saying this is what he wanted all along. The artist is entitled to do that. We don't have to like it. We don't have to agree with it. Art is subjective. What I consider to be art and what someone else considers to be art are two different things. I've had this argument for years. But anyways, I got on a weird tangent there. So, with the reveal of Credence being a Dumbledore, and the creation of Fawkes, not necessarily the creation, but like the implementation of Fawkes, was very interesting to watch. And like I said, I can't wait 2 years for the next one. Like, I want the next one next Christmas. Even though that would be a terrible idea because Star Wars Episode 9 comes out next Christmas. So, yeah, it wouldn't make a dime, comparatively. Which is interesting because Bumblebee comes out this Christmas, but so also does Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse film. So we'll see which one wins. I think Spider-Verse is going to get the major box office as opposed to Bumblebee. But anyways, now I said I wanted to build to Kowalski, but not to Kowalski, to the ending, the reveal of Dumbledore. But I don't know, like. I'm doing this very stream of conscious. It's also like 2:30 at night. And, yeah, I'm kind of running on fumes at this point, and I'm going to be very tired tomorrow. But, So I know I said I wanted to build to the ending, but I also got to talk about how they dealt with Kowalski. I knew that that's how that was going to work, because the conditions of the potion that Newt made from the extract of the swooping evil, that it erased bad memories, but Kowalski didn't have bad memories. Everything was wonderful and amazing and good. There were some odd moments, some scary moments, but there weren't bad moments. So, yeah, so he might have initially forgot, but then, like, Queenie coming back, and Queenie being a Legilimens, could use, like, some sort of, like, being a Legilimens could use occlumency to have unlocked his mind as well, but they ultimately say that, he didn't have bad memories, so it didn't work. Which I thought was great, because Kowalski was probably... Yeah, I can comfortably say Kowalski was the best part of the first one. He brings the comedy and the heart to it all. I mean, Newt Scamander also brings the heart to it as well, but in a different way. And then Queenie, at the end of the film, like, all Queenie wants is to be with Kowalski. And that's admirable. That's wonderful. That's great. That's a great story arc. That's a great character arc. But it's pushing her to do bad things in order to get what she wants. Ultimately to the point of joining Grindelwald, because Grindelwald keeps preaching this: we need to abolish the laws of the ministries as they stand, the wizarding community needs to come out, and then we can do whatever we want. We can rule the muggles, we can kill the muggles, we can marry the muggles, we can do whatever we want with them. So Queenie joins Grindelwald for her end goals of being with Kowalski. But in doing so hurts Kowalski because Kowalski doesn't want her to do it. So there's a rift between those two now. And again, like I said, with the stakes being higher and the consequences being more dire in this film, I felt it was a good film because of those things. And also, like, the story elements, good and bad, potentially canon breaking or canon altering. I don't know, like I said, I enjoyed it. I have issues with it, not serious issues with it, but, there are plot holes that need to be addressed in later films or addressed somehow. But I don't know. Is it possible that these are all just studio-driven, milk the Harry Potter cash cow until it's dead? Possibly. It's very possible Disney's doing that with Star Wars. That's the risk when you have a franchise. But I don't know. At the end of the day, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And me, I liked it. So, I mean, I should hope I like it. $15 for a t-shirt, even though it's got felt. I didn't realize that this was felt. This is amazing. But anyway, so yeah. That is pretty much all the major points that I had for Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. And again, I don't know what I'm going to name this video. I think I might just be safe and just name it Let's Talk the Crimes of Grindelwald. But anyways, thank you all for watching. If you liked it, let us know. Like and comment down below. Subscribe if you're not already. While you're at it, check out all of our other content. We have like 2 Let's Talks, or 3, I forget, maybe 4. We don't have many. I wanted to do more, but then things that you can see in past channel updates. Which, speaking of, another channel update's going to come out soon, as well as a whole bunch more stuff coming for Something for Every Nerd. Let's just say I had big aspirations for 2018. Unfortunately, we didn't meet them in my mind, and I'm going to have like a year-end wrap video or something, but there's some good stuff coming down the pipe, and I'm excited. So anyways, once again, thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time. Goodbye, you nerds. But no, seriously, that ending just had me, like, reeling all the way home. Like, I'm just like, oh my god. I did not see that coming.